So welcome everyone. Thanks for choosing this course. I'm hopeful that you already know about me. If not, I'm Amudan Shaktivel and I have around 7 years of experience with test automation. And I have worked on almost all the Java stack tools like Selenium, APM, Rest Assured. And then I also have very good knowledge on Docker, Kubernetes, and then some Spring Boot as well. I also done a lot of production services monitoring tools like Splunk, Prometheus, Elasticsearch, Kibana, a lot of other tools, right? So, but basically, uh, yeah, I also do a lot of freelancing apart from my YouTube channel, which you already know. And then I also do a lot of online training courses as well. So this is all apart from my current job. So yeah, this is all basic, based on my interest. And this is almost like the fourth API testing batch that I'm going to take. But in the previous three versions, maybe in the last one, I didn't teach about Docker and Spring Boot. But in this course, I am going to take about that. When the first time I'm taking it, I was taking only the Postman, and the next time people asked me we want to include SOAP-UI, so I have also included that. So I'm extending the course, but still not increasing the cost. So if you notice, we're going to cover all the stuff related to API testing. What is API? What is web service? All the necessary basics. Then we're going to deep dive into Postman. We're gonna thoroughly understand what is Postman, how to use it, and then we're gonna learn how to automate using Postman. If you are someone who is a manual tester, this is a right tool to pick and then to automate a test case. Okay, it's not just you need always the automation programming language to do automation. It is just a basic step for you to get started with. When I started as a manual tester, I used Postman, to get started with my automation. So if you are also someone like that, this will give you enough basics, enough confident to get started with learning programming. Okay, so Postman, SOAP-UI are very very easy. We're going to see about that. You don't need a lot of programming knowledge. You're going to see, but they are going to be as effective like Rest Assured. Okay, the same APIs that you automate using Rest Assured library, you can automate very easily using Postman and SOAP-UI. So we're going to see all those things. Okay, we're not going to just cover only the Postman. We're going to build a framework. We're going to do a lot of data driven testing. We're going to do assertions, schema validations. Yeah, maybe you cannot understand what I'm speaking now, but don't worry, we're going to cover all those things in detail. And we're going to cover Rest Assured in very detail. And The framework part, yes, we're going to build it from the very scratch. People wanted BDD as well, so first we will develop a test driven framework. At the end, I'll tell you guys how we can extend this to support BDD as well. So I will take this as a note. I'll update the content as well. So if you have any reasonable requirements like this, please always post to me. I'll see how much time it will take, and then I'll try to accommodate in the course. Yes, good. And we're going to see what is Docker, right? If you guys are learning API testing, if you haven't started your journey with Docker, people nowadays expects all the testers, test automation engineers to know about Docker. So this is going to be the opportunity for you to learn about Docker. We're going to speak in very simple terms. Don't worry, I'm here to help you learn Docker. Okay. And we're also going to develop REST APIs. This is an optional course. If you are really interested, you can learn it. Otherwise, you can just stick to the first 4 or 5 topics, right? Good. So yeah, without wasting much time, let's get into this particular important question, right? Why API automation, right? I know many of you here are already UA automation or doing UA automation using Selenium, WebDriver IO, Cypress, or any other tools, right? So you guys definitely notice certain problem with UA automation. Okay, I have summarized all of them here. One of them is UA tests are very very difficult to build. Okay, to quote an example, let's take an example from Make My Trip. Okay, consider you are working for, sorry guys, I think I'll use this. Okay, consider you are working for a Make My Trip company. Okay, so you want to automate all these scenarios, right? Imagine how long it will take. Okay, you need to find all the element properties. Okay, finding the element property itself will take 1 day. Okay, if you go to the next page, suppose if I do a search. Okay, see, there are so many elements. All these are dynamic. Today the price cost is this, tomorrow it will be different. So you need to write a lot of logics to validate or assert all these important things, right? So look at the amount of you know you know data that you have. You need to find all these elements. There is no other way. Again, if you're using page object model, your pages becomes clumsy because there are a lot of page locators, right? Very complex, right? It's not that easy. to automate these kind of websites. Take an example from Amazon. Amazon has a lot of menu pages. See, there are so many menus. Each menus has their own internal sub menus. Again, these also having so many menus. How will you validate all these things using UI automation tools? Sorry guys. So it's very difficult, right? You have a lot of menu bars. Tomorrow the banner gets changed. Okay, it has a lot of scrollability things. You need to scroll sideways as well. So how will you validate all these things? Very difficult, right? At least it takes a lot of time and efforts, and only people with the experience can do this. Some people will run away in the mid of the project if you have very big project like this. That's the truth, right? We have to accept the truth at some time. Yeah, so that's the problem. It's very difficult to build, and it is prone to flakiness, right? So even if you build a very small regression suite of 100 test cases, every time you run it, maybe one or two tests can fail due to some weights that you ignore to handle a weight properly, or there is some unknown exception like uninterrupted exceptions, tail element exception. There are a lot of exceptions that can happen, and your test are always prone to flakiness, right? And then, as I already told, the object identification itself is a very huge task. It though we can identify all the objects, but it takes time to put them into a page layers, create a name for them, call them from the page methods, then you need to call them from the test layers. There are a lot of efforts involved, right? It's very difficult. It takes time. That's what I'm meaning. So again, testing on multiple browsers is very challenging, right? Have you guys tried out automating a website in Chrome and then trying to do it in Firefox? The same script will not work. You need to do a little bit of tweaking sometimes in order to make it work in the Firefox. Suppose imagine you want to run your test on Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari. There are range of browsers, and even in range of browsers you have a lot of browser version. For example, the latest version in Chrome is 92 today, and people are still using 76 version of the Chrome as well. So you need to do that browser compatibility testing as well. This all involves cost and difficulties. So yes, challenging. There are a lot of browsers. Testing on all these browsers, developing suite for all of them is challenging. And then there are more tools, right? So you learn today Selenium, tomorrow you join a new company, there they are using WebDriver IO. So you need to learn WebDriver IO, right? So there are a lot of tools available, you know so maybe the learning curve is very big. You have to keep updating yourself. Yes, that's there. People also may use multiple different languages as well. Yeah, very difficult. But yeah, and if you are maintaining a larger regression suite, suppose tomorrow there is some change, they want to do a revamp of the website, they want to align different elements in different. Suppose tomorrow they want to keep this the menu bar that you are seeing here. uh, I don't know how to call this, but the filters here in on the top. Okay, they want to do some changes, and they want to change the way how it is represented. Maybe the text they want to change, they want to do some other modifications, right? So maintenance is again a very difficult thing to do in case of UI automation. Again, if you want to run it on multiple browsers, then there is a infrastructure cost involved. Suppose if you are setting up your own grid, you want to set up your own VM. Suppose you are purchasing AWS EC2 instances to run your test. So all involves cost, right? So again, that's the problem with your UI automation tools. And it also, if you have seen, people are running UI automation for 7 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, right? It takes time to execute. Yes, because it interacts with web pages, it takes time to execute. If you have longer regression suites, again, you have to wait for the results. All these problems that I have mentioned is happening in UI automation, but API automation is the solution for all these problems. Okay, if you want to quickly automate something, use APIs. Okay, if you want to create more robust test cases, use API automation. Okay, there is no complexity like you need to find the objects. You don't need to create page layers. The test cases are going to be really simple. We're gonna send some requests, get some response, do some assertions. Your test case is done. Very simple. Okay, and even if Amazon is interacting with suppose take an Amazon end-to-end flow. You need to log in, then you need to add a product to the cart, then you need to do the payment, you need to tell your shipping address. Lot of a big journey, right? But after all the journeys, it's going to just submit an order to the backend. So it's just an API call at the end. Okay, so if you want to automate Amazon, website, so using API automation is going to be really simple. Okay. Hey Amudan, if you are telling API automation as a solution for everything, uh, can we skip UI automation? Then why people are still doing UI automation? Guys, API automation can give you a high level results. Okay. Let's say, let's take a very simple website. Okay. Maybe orange, which are, so if it is not, if you notice, it's a very simple website. I'm entering username, I'm entering password. If you click on login, it'll log into the website. This is what you are doing in UI automation. You interact with UI and then you are sending all these values and then you are performing it. If you want to do the same operation with the API, what do? You construct a request that is having username and password. Let's take a help from Notepad. So let's say you construct a request like this. So you construct username. Okay, username is, let's say, admin. Okay, and you also send password. So you're sending some password. So this is your API request. So you will send this request to the backend. Okay, you'll send this to backend. Backend will verify whether you are a valid user. It will check in the DB. Okay, this guy is a valid user. Now what I want to do, I want to send a successful response. Okay, then it will send a 200 response to me. Okay, and then the user will be logged in. Okay, so in case of API, you are sending something and then you are just checking whether it is 200 response, and then that's it. You are asserting that the response is 200, then your API test is done. But the problem is, let's say you are only doing API automation. So your API test will pass. You are sending admin ABCD 123 and then you are getting 200. Yes, everything is passed. Your API test is very fast, very reliable. But on next day in production, this login button is not getting clicked. Okay, it is not clickable due to some reasons, due to some problem with your CSS. It is not clickable. What happens? User enters admin and then it enters a password as well. And then if they click on login, they are not able to click it. So the API call itself will not be sent to the backend. So API testing can give you high level results, but UI automation is also necessary in order to make sure that your application is working fine in all the cases. Okay, so don't just tell.
Can I ask a question now, or is it at the end of the session?
Yeah,
Uh,
you can ask the question now. There is no problem.
yeah. So just one quick question. So like when we're designing this in the real time,
Yeah.
so a test case. So how do you say that test case is passed? So that test case should be passed both at the API level automation and the UI level automation, right?
Yes. If you don't
Okay.
have time to build a UI, then okay, you can test the UI in terms of manual testing. Anyways, you do some in sprint stories manually, right? At the time, you will
Mhm.
definitely log in. You'll do UI validation checks. You will do some basic
Mhm.
scenarios with that. Yeah, at least if you have a API regression suite, at least do a UI sanity suite. Okay, to make sure that
Mhm.
everything is working fine. Okay, not just API automation will give you fruitful benefits. Okay, always
So
it's better to
it's
have
up
both.
to.
Yeah, it's better to have both, but API automation is a must. UI automation, if you have time, do it. If you don't have time, at least do the sanity suite and then club it with your API automation. So the collated results from your API automation and your UI automation is very important. Okay,
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
good. uh, so this is very important to understand before we get started, right? So it will be very easy to do the API automation. We're going to see about that, but just understand, if you're someone who have worked on UI automation, you're going to find it very, very easy to work with API automation. Okay, good. So now let's get into some real basics. Okay, the basics is, there is always a doubt, what is an API, what is a web service? Okay, good. To answer this, maybe I'll draw a simple diagram. Okay, I will take an example from the Make My Trip itself. Okay, yes, if you notice, when I search the flight from Delhi to Chennai on this particular date, it has, the Make My Trip has given me all the details about Air India, Indigo. There are different, okay, Vistara, different airline providers. How this make my trip having all this data? Okay, can anyone guess how this guys knows there is an Air India flight from 9:45 to 12:40 and this price is this much? We have 15 seats in economy class for the Air India. How this make my trip knows all this information?
I think they are interacting with the external APIs of Air India.
Okay, so Silas Kumar is telling from their website. No, see, it's very fast, right? So let's say when I click on search, within few seconds, okay, it's giving me this answer. They cannot go to one website, okay, and then fetch all the information, come back. But there will be an agreement between make my trip and Air India, so that hey, when I try to we'll make agreement between both of us. Okay, I think I see another message. API is exposed to, yes, MMT, yes, correct. So these two guys, Air India and make my trip, is now having a contract between both of them. Okay, what make my trip tells, okay, hey, I will send you all this information to you. You tell me the flights that you have in this matching this particular details. Okay, let's construct a request for them and see, understand how this things is. So, okay, so this guys may tell, okay, maybe the origin. Okay, origin is maybe from Delhi, and then they have destination to Chennai. Okay, and then they also tell passengers, number of passengers. Okay, maybe one, or the date of travel. Okay, date of travel is, let's say, today. Okay, we are sending all this information. Okay, there is already a contract between these two guys. Okay, when make my trip sends this information, these guys, the Indigo understands it. Okay, make my trip asking me to display or give him all the information related to this. What I will do, I will send another response back. Okay, this response will have what is the flight number, what is the time of the flight. Okay, time of flight, and then what is the cost, and number of seats available. So maybe this is just a contract between your make my trip and your Indigo, just a mutual understanding, right? We send some information, you give back us what is the information that we need, right? I see another chat. Yeah, yeah, I'm just giving available seats, and yes, you can add more parameters. The number of parameters get increased. Suppose if it is a round trip, what is the return trip date, how many passengers, do you want a meal, no, all those information, right? I'm not going very deep, but yeah, at least some information that you can interpret now. So we are sending some request and we are getting some response back. So there is an interaction, okay, happening. Let's open some paint and then let's try to understand with a simple diagram. Okay, so client and server. Can anyone tell who is the client in this example? We have only two guys. Okay, one is make my trip and another one guy is Indigo. Let's assume we are not in speaking about other flight providers. We will just only restrict ourselves to MMT and Indigo. Yes, client is MMT. Yes, because he needs the information. That's very good. Your MMT is a client, and obviously if your MMT is the client, your Indigo is a server, right? Good. So client is MMT and your server is Indigo. Very easy, right? So client needs some information. Okay, client needs some information, so I'll send a request to him. Okay, and then this guy, okay, understands the request. Okay, process all those things and then send the response back. Okay, so this is response. Okay, you get a response back from the server. Very simple interaction. So there is a request going in and the response coming out. But since these guys have exposed the APIs, okay, not only make my trip will interact with Indigo, there are other people. Okay, maybe what are the other providers like make my trip, where you can book tickets other than make my trip. Let's say you are booking tickets from some other thing. Okay, then those guys also will send the request and then response back. Okay, but the Indigo needs to understand who is sending me the request. Okay, so for that they have some kind of authentication mechanism. Okay, they cannot simply give the details, without understanding who is asking for the information, whether they have access to get the information. There is a small difference between authentication and authorization. Okay, we will understand that in detail. Okay, I see another two chats. Yeah, Yatra is one more guy, so maybe Yatra is also having uh, Yatra is one more client. So Yatra is one more client which requires details from the Indigo server. Okay, so for Yatra, the JSON structure may be different. Okay, Yatra may need one or two extra information than your make my trip. So there will be always a separate contract between your client and server. That is very important. So we call it as API contract. Okay, so server will understand, okay, if this guy is giving a bearer token of ABCD123, then this is Yatra. Then I need to parse this information likewise, and then I need to send a response in a particular structured way, how how we have made our agreement. Okay, so that's how it works. Good. So uh, after this, okay, if you understand this, then we're almost done, right? So whatever I have explained to you, okay, needs a little bit of internet connection, right? These guys interact over a HTTP protocol. Okay, so you cannot directly, suppose you don't have an internet connection, what happens? Okay, when you do the search, you won't be able to get the results, because the make my trip interacts in the behind backend using your internet, right? HTTP protocol. So basically they interact over a HTTP protocol. So whatever the APIs that are interacting over a HTTP protocol, we call it as web services. Okay, whatever the things that doesn't need an internet connection or doesn't interact over the HTTP protocol, we call it as an API. Very simple, right? But Amudan, you gave an example for web service. I can easily imagine make my trip is and Indigo, they are interacting using a web services. Yeah, I can understand that that is a web service. But what is an API? I could not relate what is an API. Yes, imagine you have a Java program, right? You are writing a lot of Java program. You want to work with Selenium. What do? You add a new jar file, Selenium jar file. Okay, to interact with the Selenium jar file or your Apache, you want to read some data from an Excel. What do? You add your Apache POI libraries, right? These APIs you don't have need an internet connection. So they just interact without an HTTP protocol. So this is just a layer between. There is a layer between these two systems interact between each other. If that is over a HTTP protocol, we call it as web service. If there is no HTTP protocol involved, then these are called as simply APIs. Okay. You can also imagine about VB script or macros that is running in Excel. Okay. These two systems interact with each other, but there is no HTTP protocol involved. So we call them as API. Again, guys, don't worry too much. Okay, if you don't understand, that's completely fine. Okay, there are a lot of people who don't understand what is web service and what is the difference between API and web service. They are working on rest assured. They are becoming a lead consultant also. So don't worry about all these things. Maybe if you understand, that's quite well and good. If not, give it some time. Okay, it's like you learn to drive a car or a bike. Okay, it needs some time. Okay, maybe initially you feel little hiccups. That's okay, but it's pretty common. I didn't understand this for a very long time, so maybe you can also be there like that. So don't worry about it, we can still proceed and learn. Okay, don't think much. Okay, end of the day, just understand, whoever is requesting for the information is called a client, whoever is giving the information is called the server. Okay, that is very simple thing in API automation. It works on client server architecture. Very very simple. If you understand just this, that's more than enough. Good. I see another chat. Okay. 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 Good, guys. Good. And yeah. So I also explained about make my trip. What I will also do, I will also explain about one more thing. Okay. Let me project my screen. Okay. My mobile screen. I have a weather app that I want to show it to you. Just give me some time. I'm just kickstarting my screen mirroring app. Come on. It's not picking up. Just a minute, guys. Just a minute. I'm not sure why this is not running. It was updating in the morning. Okay, let it open. Or you guys can at least open a weather app in your mobiles. If you have mobiles with you, you might have seen a weather app, right? So it lists you the current temperature, the humidity in this particular location, all those information. Where this is getting all this information? Okay, they cannot statically load some data, correct? So, oh my, why this app is not opening? Okay, guys, can you open a weather app in your particular uh, mobile device so that you can understand what I'm speaking here? Okay, I see people. Your PC have app showing them. I don't. Okay, but that's might not be okay. Okay, maybe I can just search in Google. Okay, let's take an example from here as well. So if you notice, it is displaying the location, that is near to me, and it is displaying the temperature, right? And it is also, what is, if you want to see the full forecast, you can also do that. It is also giving me the haze. I don't know what is haze exactly, but yeah. So it is giving some information, right? So you cannot statically have this data. You cannot directly fill 28, 29, 27. No, because the temperature keep changing every 1 hour or maybe every minute, but they will update every 1 hour. Okay, so where these informations are coming from? Okay, so those information are coming from some servers. Okay, whoever built this particular app, okay, whoever built this particular app is having REST API calls, is making REST API calls to that particular server, weather server. Okay, you have something like this. Let's create a new one. So, okay, you have something like this. This is your weather app, and this is your server. This is weather server. Okay, maybe they get this information from some satellite, and then they have exposed them in the form of weather. So you just tell them, okay, what is your location, or maybe some coordinates that they can understand, and then it will automatically give you back the temperature, the humidity, what is the forecast for the next 3 to 4 days. So this is very important, right? So you just build the UI only. Okay, okay, and you get all the information from different server. That's very important, right? So these are the examples of web services. All other systems that are existing, okay, they all interact using web services. Okay, if you see any two systems interacting with each other, they are all interacting with the help of web services. Okay, that's a very good example what I'm thinking about. Yeah, so now we will have an enough understanding of what is API, what is web service. Now this is very important topic. This is also one more use case why you want to learn API automation or API testing in general. Even if it is not related to automation, if it is just API testing, why you want to do it? Okay, how many of you know what is a monolithic and what is a microservice architecture? Anyone knows what it is? And if you know what it is, I would request you to unmute and then explain what you understand about what is monolithic and what is microservice.
Hi, Amutan.
Yeah.
Basically, monolithic means your total application is built as a one
Okay.
part. But
Okay.
in microservice architecture, like the different like application is segregated into different unit, and
Yeah.
like it is like lightly coupled, not
Good.
totally like it is like segregated. Different section are segregated from each other.
Good. Good. What else? What else you could think about?
Maintenance is easy, like if you want to update any one of the section,
Hmm.
you can take down that one.
Yeah.
Other can be up, but in the monolithic, like entire application will be down because it
Yes.
is it is a one
Correct.
application.
Yeah. What else? What else?
This is what I.
Okay, good, good. I think you have already summarized, and made my job very easy. But still, I'll try to explain the same thing with a little more added points. Okay, let's understand. Okay, why Amazon is so successful. Okay, have you ever seen Amazon page with the downtime? Hey, we are going down for 1 hour. we will come back after 5 o'clock. Okay. Have you ever seen an Amazon page like this? Have you ever seen Netflix like that? No, you won't see, because these guys have adopted microservices long back. Okay. Why? How this make them a huge, how it give them a huge advantage. That's what we're going to see about it. Okay. Let's take Amazon is built in one simple language. It is a one whole website. Okay. For developers, if there is a new change, they need to do the new change. Suppose they want to add a new menu here, and they want to do some changes in the payment module. Okay, that is their sprint stories. Now they have two stories. One is they want to add a new menu. If they add a new menu, for this particular menu, they also want to do the sub menu. For the sub menu, they also want to need to create a new landing page. So basically they need to do a lot of work. And then in another story, they also want to include a payment using a new like GPay, Paytm. There is one more guy that is coming into picture, so they want to do the payment using that as well. So this is the two stories. Let's assume this is the two stories. What you normally do? Okay, the developers has to develop these functionalities. The testers needs to test all the functionalities. They need to do the regression for all the test cases, right? And in some cases they do some exploratory testing or risk-based testing, and then they will only test this particular module and the payment module. But that doesn't gonna give you fruitful results. Okay, because even as a black box tester, we do not know if they touch something here, what will break in something else. Okay, we cannot imagine. So it is always a risk. Okay, that's why we call it as risk-based testing. So we cannot take risks in a website like Amazon, or in a website like HDFC net banking. You cannot take risk, right? You need to test all the things. So what people do, they test everything. Okay, they develop small chunk, but they need to test whole lot of things. Okay, that is one of the problem. And one more important thing is, the entire website will have to be created in one simple language. Okay, either you choose Java, either you choose React, either you choose Angular. If your front end is Angular, you need to have all the Angular developers. Okay, finding an Angular developer is very difficult than finding a diamond. Okay, so yeah, so there is a lot of complexity involved, right? You with a monolithic application, again, if you want to do some deployment, like Abhishek told, you need to bring down the whole thing, and then you want to scale up again with the new thing, right? That is what people normally does. Let's also take one more simple example. Okay, let's assume you have this as a monolithic application. Okay, let's assume it's a monolithic Amazon application. The first problem is, okay, developing and testing is tedious. Okay, definitely it's hard. And then the second one is scalability is a bigger concern. Scalability is difficult. What do you mean by scalability, Amundan? I don't understand. Okay, today this is a very normal day. So maybe today is a prime day. So if you notice, 26th and 27th is a prime. What is the date today? 27. So today is a prime day, so we can expect a lot of people to come into this Amazon website, and there may be a lot of requests. Okay, so they have, let's assume they have 100 GB of machine, 100 GB of server that can serve all these requests. But today is a very big sale that is coming up. 12 o'clock they are releasing new device. So what happens? There are more requests. Maybe instead of getting 20,000 requests, you are getting 2 lakh requests. 20,000, you are getting 2 lakh. So what do you need to do? You cannot simply tell server, I cannot feed all your things, or you cannot have a waiting time of more than 1 minute. Okay, you cannot do that. So what you have to do, you have to scale your server, okay, to feed all these requests. So what you normally do, people normally do vertical scaling. So there are two scaling. Okay, very simple terms, guys. People normally get fear about hearing these terms. Vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is nothing but you increase the capability. Okay, so you are increasing from 1000 GB of server to 2000 GB of server. That's it. What is the problem in this case, Amudan? Tomorrow again the request will go to 200 or 2000. In those cases, you still have 2000 GB of machine, but which could have been easily made with just 1000 GB of machine. Okay, or 100 GB of machine. You have a bigger capability, but you don't have enough requests coming in. So there is a problem. You have bigger resource, but you don't. Suppose imagine you are conducting a marriage. You have prepared food for 2000 people. There is only 100 people who came to the wedding. So what happens? So all your food get wasted, right? That your resources are getting wasted. The same thing happens here. So that's the problem with vertical scaling. Vertical scaling is problematic because when once you increase it, the amount or infrastructure cost that is involved to build this server, maintain the server is very huge, might not be really required for you. Then there is something called as horizontal scaling. Okay, this looks interesting. What is that? Okay, there is something called as horizontal scaling. Okay, previously we had just 1000 GB of machine. Okay, previously we have only one server with 1000 GB. Let's assume it can only handle let's say 10,000 requests. Okay, and now you are estimating that today is a prime day, there will be more requests. So what it will do, there is something called as load balancer. Okay, let's create it like this. Okay, there is something called as load balancers. Okay, though I'm not going to cover what it exactly do, but the name itself is giving you enough idea what it will actually do. Okay, so horizontal scaling is something that you build one more. Okay, you build a one more server of 1000 GB. Okay, that can also cater 10,000 requests. Okay, and there is a load balancer. Whatever the request that is coming from the client, okay, whatever the request that is coming from the client will be splitted by load balancer, and it will be given here. This load balancer understand, okay, we have already sent 10,000. Okay, this guy is reaching its 80% of threshold. What it will do, it will create one more Docker container again. For now, just imagine it is on the fly, it is creating a new server which can cater one more 10,000 requests. Okay, now the load balancer also understands that we are almost nearing 20,000 requests. So what it does, it creates one more. It creates one more server that can cater another 10,000 users. So this is called as horizontal scaling. So you add more servers when you need. So now the load balancer understands, okay, the requests are going down. There is less than 15,000 requests. So what it will do, it will delete this particular server. Okay, it will have only one particular server like this. Okay, it is not just possible that you directly delete a physical bare metal servers, but imagine you have a virtual machines or Docker containers. You can do that, okay, with the help of load balancers. Again, you need to learn about a lot of AWS load balancers, what is different load balancing techniques, how this load balancers distributes the load, how it's, whether it is round robin or different. There are different mechanisms. I don't want to get into that, but for now, just understand scaling and monolithic application is very difficult. Okay, Amazon cannot be successful if they are monolithic. Okay, so and then one more problem is you need to develop everything as a one single cluster in one simple language. So you programming language is restricted. Okay, see, it is very easy to develop a backend using Spring Boot and Java, but it is not very easy to create a front end using Java. So there is all some complexities involved, right? So each language, suppose for machine learning we use Python because Python supports machine learning very well. Suppose for Android development we use Java, but Kotlin is way better than Java for Android development. So each language has its own specific use case, but in case of monolithic application, you cannot leverage any of these things. Okay, you have to develop in one simple language. Okay, so I don't know how many of you heard about something called as AEM. So it is called as Adobe Experience Manager. Okay, ignore the cases, guys. Okay, it's called as Adobe Experience Manager. Whatever the e-commerce websites that you are seeing, like Amazon, other so Ajio, other different Myntra, Flipkart, all those things, they use AEM because AEM is a way to wrap a lot of information together into a small space. Okay, in Amazon you have to wrap a lot of information into small space, so they use something like AEM. Okay, so there are a lot of techniques, but in monolithic the problem is, to summarize, monolithic, the problem is development is and testing is very difficult. The cycle gets longer, right? If you take more time to develop, more time to test, your release to production becoming longer. Scalability is a big concern because I cannot do horizontal scaling. I have to ignore the typo here. I have to do the vertical scaling. Vertical scaling, I have already explained what are the problem with vertical scaling, and then you cannot use different programming languages. So this is a problem with monolithic application. So Amudan, how you cannot solve these problems? Okay, what Amazon did? Okay, what Amazon have done? Okay, they splitted this Amazon website into different microservices, small entities, small modules, like Abhishek mentioned. What they done, they have created small modules like this. Okay, this is your login module, login, or we call it as login service. Okay, and then this is your payment service. Okay, and then this is your home page service, and then different service. Maybe this is your product listing page service. Okay, and then this is your banner service, all the banners that you are seeing in an Amazon website. So these are all banners, right? So this will be maintained by one particular service. Okay, so they have different services like this. So what happens? Okay, tomorrow there is a new change in a payment. Okay, they want to include a new payment. What they do is they will just only customize this particular service. So what happens? This particular service will interact with product listing page or other services with the terms of API calls. Okay, within the application itself. Okay, they're going to interact with API calls. Okay, good. Previously we see two different systems interacting with the API calls. Okay, maybe Make My Trip on Indigo, Yatra and Indigo, because these are all two different systems. They they interact using web service. But here the same Amazon website itself is behaving like multiple systems. Okay, so this, once you add product to the cart, when you navigate to the next page, what happens? In the payment page you get clearly the what is the cost of the product, what is the different stuff, all those things, because the product listing page sends all this information to the payment page. Okay, well, this is the product under test, this is the cost of this product, how many products, all those information is given to payment service from the product listing page or your add to cart page. So now they interact using APIs with among themselves. Tomorrow if there is a change in payment service, you don't have to test the PLP service, because PLP service is going to return you the same details. Okay, so there is no necessity that you need to test this. Now, okay, I see different modules interact using API or web services. That's a very good question, but that entirely depends upon the use cases. Let's say both of them are developed using different language. Your payment service is developed using PHP, because it's very easy to develop a payment service using PHP. It's not the case, but I'm just giving an example. Your product listing page is developed using Python. Now in these cases you cannot interact with an API, right? You need a web service, right? Because these two interact with different ways, right? This is a different language, this is a different language, so there is an web service in between them. Okay, so that's how it interacts. So next time you want to do some changes in payment service, you don't have to regression test this whole other services. That's a very big advantage. One of the other thing is all these different services can be developed in different languages. So it gives you a lot of freedom. If you that's why Amazon don't restrict you from writing code. Suppose you go to Amazon interview, they don't restrict you to write only code in Java. If you write code in Python, they will put you in some services where they are developing using Python. Okay, so there will be always an use case for their programming language, so they don't restrict people from writing code in a particular language. Okay, the last issue is, okay, the scalability. Even in the previous case, when we are doing scaling, when you're doing horizontal scaling, we have to scale the whole server itself. But now you can, if there is more request to your payment service, okay, then you can just scale your payment service alone. The amount and efforts involved to scale the payment service is very less than scaling this entire application or a whole application, right? Very simple. So let's say you are saying there is a phone that is coming live today at 12 p.m. Okay, what happens? There are more people hitting your website, and they will be mostly, there will be 2 lakh requests coming to your home page and your product listing page. But the payment page will be very restricted, because the number of phones we are going to sell is 1000. So there is no need to scale your payment service to cater 2 lakh requests. Okay, anyways, we are going to disable the add to cart button after a few things, right? So let's say you are adding your mobile. I hope you guys can imagine what I'm saying. Let's take an example from mobile. So once there are 10 people, 1000, let's assume there are 1000 phones. Once there are 1000 people who moved to the next page, they will block this maybe buy now button here. Okay, so the payment service need not to be scaled. Okay, that's a good advantage, right? So you only scale whatever the service that you want to scale. Maybe in my case, I'll only uh, scale this product listing page, add to cart page, and then the home page. Okay, I'm not going to scale all of the services. Docker gonna help you do this, but microservices is something that you can understand. You split your system into different modules or different services. They are going to interact with each other, okay, like this. Okay, they will have a separate relation between them. They interact between each other and share the information among them. You get a freedom to scale only the independent services. You also get a freedom to develop whatever the language you want to do. That's when Amazon, if they want to do some changes to their payment service, they have 1000 servers now up and running for payment service. They will shut down 500. Okay, they will shut down 500 service. Okay, they will deploy new changes to this 500. In the meantime, the 500 old requests will be served. Okay, whoever is there in the production, they will be served with the remaining servers. Okay, once this deployment of this new thing is done, the load balancer will send the request to this particular guy, and this 500 is now going through the new changes. So this will be deployed now. So without even you even seeing all those changes, everything is happening at the back end. They are bringing in putting in new changes without even we understand that there is new changes going there. Okay, that's why these systems are so successful. Amazon, Netflix, they are all so successful because they have adapted microservices, because they have adapted Docker. We're going to see about that. But why I've explained this microservices, why it is very important. If your application is not using microservices, maybe 2 years down the lane, they will use microservices. If you use microservices, you need to interact using APIs. As a tester, at least if you don't do automation, as a manual tester, it is very important for you to understand the API basics. If you are automation, okay, there will be more demand for automation testers with API automation skills. That's what I'm trying to understand, trying to convey in this particular example. If you are someone who is only having UI automation knowledge or manual testing knowledge, please also learn about API testing, manual API testing, and then you also learn about automation of the APIs. This is going to be the key skill in the upcoming future once people started to adapt a lot of microservices or migrating from monolithic to microservices. Good. I hope I have made some sense. If you still have doubts about monolithic and microservices, please let me know now. Any doubts? Maybe I took a little extra time, but that's okay. We need to have enough understanding why we are learning API automation, how this is going to help us in the future. Good. Guys, any doubts so far? Actually, I was a little slow, but yeah, maybe we can cover this tomorrow. I don't want to rush through the things, and then that's not my aim. As long as I can able to communicate and you can able to understand, I'm okay to extend the course by 1 or 2 days extra. That's not a big deal for me. Any doubts before we wrap the sessions for today? Because it's already 8. I don't want to catch hold of you any further. Okay. No, then good. How will we get the recordings? Yes, I will share the recordings soon. So you would have filled a form, Google form. I will share the videos in a form of I'll upload them in a G drive. I'll share you the links, so you guys should be in a position to view those videos. Don't worry, it will be available within 1 hour every day after the course. Okay, mostly it will be available within 1 hour. But I have some assignment for you. Maybe you can do that assignment. Okay, think about some of the best examples of companies adapting microservices. I want to hear some success stories. Okay, learn about which company has struggled a lot with monolithic. After migrating to microservices, they have attained very good growth. I want to know about good examples. Okay, please learn about them. Okay, and then you get an opportunity to speak about it tomorrow. Okay, so yeah, I'm expecting this as an assignment from you guys. If I'm getting another message, if payment and login are based in Python, then also web services will be interaction instead of API. Because yeah, see, I have just given an example, Rohit. I'm not telling okay they all interact with the API or they all will interact with web services. It depends, right? As we already know that API is something that doesn't interact using an HTTP protocol. Okay, if there is a case that they are interacting, there are cases in my application, especially we are using microservices architecture, we interact using web services, we interact using HTTP protocol, because we see that is an easy thing to do. Okay, interacting over HTTP protocol. So again, it entirely based upon how they want to design. It's not that you always use a API, you always use a web service. It happens, it depends on the use case. Good. So I think we have covered what we need to cover for today. Maybe I didn't cover two more extra topics, but that's okay, we'll cover it tomorrow. uh, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Otherwise, we'll connect tomorrow at 7 a.m. and then we'll try to continue the topics. Okay, any other doubts before we wrap?